The wacky world of MultimediaJay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am now glad to finally present one of my favorite purchases ever from Aldi, a sub $100 vacuum cleaning robot. This was a Christmas present from the folks to go along with the new place, and it works somewhat okay, but as you can tell, it's a little stupid. Literally, all this Easy Home robot has is that little mechanical bumper right there to tell it when it needs to turn around and stuff. Hey, this was an Aldi weekly special, and it's, well, I can turn it loose and then have it kind of drive around the area and pick up all this dirt that's on the floor, and it'll actually take care of that. I can also block it off and let it go nuts with a carpet, have it clean a carpet as well. The thing is, it's kind of stupid. It's kind of stupid with the auto mode. So you can turn it off and you can do spot mode instead and have it go around in circles. And then there's turbo mode where it tries to be fast, but I don't ever use that one. It's either automatic mode or spot mode. So when it's in spot mode, it's going to keep doing bigger and bigger circles. Basically, it's doing donuts around the place. It's got that little plastic thing underneath it, so that's why it's stuck. The plastic thing's a little too big. When it hits something, it just turns a little and keeps on going around in circles. I'd much rather have it on automatic mode though. Although this is a pretty interesting algorithm. It keeps crashing into stuff, but it does have its limits. And for those wondering if it actually picked up anything, I don't know what more proof you're going to need. Surprisingly, it does. So ironic that I'm using the stick vac as a blocker to block the robot, put it in spot mode on this carpet. But the big thing is, you can just let this thing do its thing. What? You can let this thing do its thing while you go off and do something else. There we go. I must have accidentally hit it by mistake. I don't think it's actually going to hit the vacuum and turn around though. I think it's going to push the vacuum. That's what this thing tends to do. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I don't know this thing so well. But notice how already the little bits in the rug are already going away. Just from this thing, even though its wattage and amperage and whatnot isn't all that great. This thing does struggle with higher pile carpets though, which is one of the reasons why I wanted these plain old-fashioned rugs. Although this one by the door is provided by the landlord, I decided to get matching blue rugs to not only match the color, but the pile as well. There is something with the sensors though that I need to clean off somehow. Basically, there's a bit of a problem with this thing where something will glitch and it'll just back up a couple of times and then error out. Another problem this has, I noticed this more in the winter months. Oh, there it goes. Now it's pushing the vacuum. Piece of junk. Come on. It has problems with the rugs when it can't get a... I should have used something heavier to block it with. Oh, there it goes. So yeah, it's a cutesy little nerd vacuum. Weights and dumbbells are very good for blocking this thing out so it actually covers an area properly. Oh yeah, keep it in the shot. But sometimes it kind of goes for little adventures underneath the furniture. Handy that. There we go. There's the extra weight that I need. The jump starter. But notice how just having this thing do a couple of donuts on this rug has cleaned everything right up. Fun stuff. Well, that was fun. The thing found its way back into the bedroom and errored out by getting snagged on its own power cord. This thing's not smart like the Roombas and the stuff that actually costs a decent amount of money. It's very, very stupid. But this is one of those cases where it just plain had dumb luck. Do, 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 do. Now that is what I call an effing sub. This is the one that I want to get working as a passive. A Eclipse Pro Media 5.1, Ultra 5.1 sub with the inverted cones and everything. Dual 8s accordion style, which means they like that towards each other. They're wired to do so, which pushes air through, not a port, mind you. No more fart machine ports on this thing, that's for sure. It actually quietly comes out through here. And I didn't observe a little bit of dust in there, but I haven't run these in a while. I've been using this thing more as a footrest and a step stool than an actual speaker for the longest time. I look forward to working on this a little later in the week. The amplifier was making funny noises. Basically, all this speaker stuff over the last couple of years began when, well, it's a long story. I got this system in 2005 by sacrificing a tax return in order to do so, because these bad boys were going for $500,000 back then. But it was pretty much me being stupid back when I was young and dumb. So here I was, out on my own, had my first taste of real full-time employment that wasn't lousy wages and stuff like that. I was like, oh yeah, let's give them a tax refund for this. Overpaid by leaps and bounds for something that's analog only in retrospect. I mean, the Logitech stuff was starting to do digital stuff with the opticals at the time. It was really it was really me just buying a name because I had done so well with the 4.1s, which are going to make a nice comfy footrest right now. These subs are certainly a lot more solid for footrest stuff versus the Onkyo one that I have. So, a couple of years later, 2010-ish or so, the amps started making noises. I started getting scratchy noises even when there's nothing going through. So, I unscrew the amplifier plate, and what do you know, there's a loose relay in there. I touch the thing, and it disintegrates in my hand. So, that's where my problem came from, and that's what killed this poor thing. I understand if the relay hadn't let go. There are problems with resistors not being wide enough to handle wattage correctly, and just the design. This is a sealed sub with only this for a port. Well, almost sealed. It's definitely not like fart machine down there, but this thing makes it all the way down to 20. This one makes it all the way down into the 20s. But anyways, yeah, so basically, if it wasn't that, it would have been the resistors. It's a terrible design, by the way. Not much in terms of airflow, and a gigantic 500-watt amp right behind this backplate. When this thing was in operation, this would heat up. Gee, I wonder why the Logitech equivalent of this put a big effing heatsink on the back. You gotta wonder! But anyways, the original Eclipse Pro Media 5.1s were a total disaster. The amps blew and 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 blew until they brought in consultants and engineers in the whole 9 yards to re-engineer the amp to make them not blow so freaking much. I'm kind of falling in love with the not-so-swear effing right now, so yeah, maybe I've been watching too many Alfred TV videos over the years, but whatever. What I'm thinking of doing with these is picking one of these to rewire as the ins and outs for a passive, because then there's your inputs right there for front, rear, and center, the three minis and whatnot. What I think I want to do is probably unsolder one of these things and rewire it as a passive, because unless there's a bypass or something like that that I could rig up to use this as a powered subwoofer, but I don't need a 500-watt amp for a subwoofer that was only like 100 something when there's already 660 max out of the Onkyo box. So what I'm thinking might happen when I finally get around to messing with this thing is I'm thinking that the superior design of the Klipsch sub will make it so that even if it's used as a passive, that it'll probably sound better in passive mode than the Onkyo one currently does. So I think this better design can improve things just because it's a much better, way more sturdy design than the one that came with the Onkyo system. As for the fart machine, well, it can stay in the project area. The plan for the Onkyo sub, since it's not as refined, is to make that sub number 2, probably put it behind the couch or something, I did run into some problems though. I did manage to link the two systems, front and back of the place, via 32 feet of mini cable extenders to go all the way out to the 4-point-ones on this end of the room. But because I'm mixing analog and digital, there's a little bit of lag because of the processing into real-time DTS coming out of the system. So hooking that thing up as a second sub to the system, it led to some bass lag. Basically, I listened to some 70s songs that I knew quite well, and the 70s songs, you'd hear the bass first in the front, and then it would come over here like a second later. So we have some processing lag. I really need to hook up whatever linked systems I have in basically off the AV receiver. Hook up the subs in parallel on the LFE channel. But I'm already planning on having two subs. Depends on what the impedance is when I get this thing rewired. I also want to do as little damage as possible, so if by chance I ever wanted to fix this, I still had the option, but I'm not really too big of a fan of the design of this thing. If anything, I'd be more likely to put a new amp inside of it if I wanted to repeat Klipsch's mistake of putting hundreds of watts inside a significantly more sealed wooden box. Not exactly the sort of thing that I consider all that smart. But what can I say? I was just barely out of college at the time, so did I know any better? Of course not. There's probably standalone Klipsch subs that can perform leaps and bounds better than this thing. Speaking of sound systems and speakers, we will balance out tonight's discussion by checking the numbers on the Onkyo receiver. There's a couple of things. Let's just say there's been a few burning questions that I've wanted to answer for, I guess you could say years at this point, because it's been longer than a year. There's a couple of things about the power consumption of this thing that I've been curious about ever since even long before I came to the Geek House. So let's kilowatt this thing and see what numbers it's rocking. First and foremost, give the thing a rest. Basically what's going on is, coming out of the television, there's an HDMI control mode that can be used to control this box's power. But when the control mode is turned on, this standby light turns yellow instead of red when you shut the machine off. So I'm curious as to what exactly that does to the power consumption, especially standby power consumption. But I could be jumping the gun here. I just want to know what the numbers are for this thing, darn it.
Hey, look, a Winamp. Gee, I'm so old-fashioned.
Anyways, preamp volume is set to 75%. The device is turned off. So, when the light is red, the unit is dead. No standby wattage whatsoever. Handy that. Let's turn this thing on. And we're starting with the subwoofer turned off. So basically the woofers in the bookshelves are doing everything. About 40 watts at volume 20. If we minimize the volume, we're still around 40-ish. Crank it way the heck up to like 55, still 40-ish. Yay, no surprise sounds on the computer. Fun stuff. Let's leave it at 20-ish or so. If we turn the subwoofer back on, and set it for small so it crossovers at 80 hertz down to the sub, we're still at 40 watts. So when does the wattage go up, per se? When there's stuff coming out of the computers? Or speakers?
Stuff coming out of the computer.
John Dealey and the 41 Players Watercolors. This is the kind of saxophone jazz that I've come to associate. That's kind of nice, though. So if I crank it up, we gain another 10 watts. I think the wattage we're talking about here, when you say 660 watts max, is not actual power draw, but that's the wattage on a DC level at music signal levels. Let's kill the subwoofer. Subwoofer, yes, change it to no, which changes the bookshelves and those to large and forces the bass through the front too. Not much. Interesting. If we hit the speaker button, do A and B, which drops it down to stereo on these channels. Nope, not doing anything. If we go out to B only, which I don't have B speakers hooked up, okay, then the wattage drops into the 30s. Okay. Let's put it back on A. Let's, where's the stereo? Let me grab the remote for this next one. The remote's half broken, but let's see here. Let's hit the stereo. Ah, the remote's dead on this one. Oh wait, that button is dead. Let's play with some of the Pro Logics, because this is direct mode coming through DTS. So low 40s. Now if I hit the game button, see VCR DTS, let's do RPG, action, rock, sports, all channel stereo. That puts stereo, full mono, theater, that's Pro Logic-ish stuff, direct, DTS, where's the stereo button on this thing? Come on, where's just plain stereo? There we go, plain stereo. Doesn't really do much to the volume, or to the wattage. Alright, let's put this back on. Come on, DTS, DTS, there we go. Since it's setting DTS to it. This reminds me of the smooth jazz it used to play on PBS back in the day. Okay, so the next thing to do is to turn on the HDMI control. So if we go down to, I think it's hardware. That's where you set the frequency for the radio and stuff. Let's try HDMI setup. Audio TV out. Do you want to send stuff back to the television? Lip sync. HDMI control is on. The ARC is off. Power control is what I want to turn on. That way, if I shut the TV off, I want to just turn off the TV control, but I do want to turn on the power control. So that way, the power can be controlled by the television. So basically, we're at 40-something watts here. Let's see what happens. Let's play the smooth jazz again, and let's turn off the TV. The TV is off. Nah, I'm missing something here. Turn the TV back on. The HDMI is supposed to shut the machine off. Setup. HDMI. Control is on. ARC. Auto. What's that? I don't know what that is. I have to look that up. I think TV control means the TV controls it. I think what I was looking at earlier was the opposite, where if I shut the unit off, it goes to HDMI through mode. This is the yellow that I was talking about. And there's our problem right there. So in HDMI through mode, we're at 24 watts. And that's because it's sending the HDMI through to the television, or something along those lines. The point is, though, it doesn't ever shut off. So we turn it back on, and you see there's less clicking this time. Or maybe not. There's 3 clicks. Right. So now we turn off, it goes to HDMI through mode. There's normally 3 clicks from the relays when you turn it on. How many do we have when it comes off from yellow? Just 2. And we're already back into the 40s. Okay, turning off the TV should shut this thing off over HDMI control. Okay, I'm screwing something up here. Maybe I need to check the actual menu. Alright, let's turn on that ARC. Because there's something where I can use the volume for the television to control the volume on the on this. Maybe it'd be better if I alright, so I turn down the volume on the television and nope, there's something I'm missing here. Turn off the TV again. I'm missing something. Either way, it's not going into standby mode, it's going into HDMI through mode. And the control mode that I've been looking at shuts this down to a yellow light instead of a red light. However, there's obviously one circuit that's still on running the HDMI through, so the wattage gets cut in half. I don't want this thing to be like a cable box, where if I turn it off, it doesn't really turn it off. I want this thing off, as in not drawing any power when I shut the thing off for the night. So at the expense of having an extra thing to turn on and off, I think the 20 watt difference and the less wear and tear on the components, less heat, the whole 9 yards, is probably more than worth it. One last thing. Let's see if I can get this to the kind of HDMI control that I originally wanted, but I think that only works with things like the PlayStation 3. That's why I couldn't get it working here. But I did have something where when you turned off the device, it turned off the AV receiver, and vice versa. If I turn this on, does it automatically start turning the... Nope, I'm not seeing it. So it's failing completely at what I wanted it to do. And it's playing more reality show type music that I'm not really a big fan of. Apologies to Mark Burnett from that time when I actually tried to make these things like reality show stuff. Come on, let's find a better song. Dub Hub. Something long. There we go. So let's turn this back off so that it shuts off as normal. TV control off, power control off, ARC off, HDMI control off. So now when I shut it off, it should actually shut off. There we go. Red, and the wattage goes back to 0. Just what I wanted. Well, that answers my question. Convenience does come at a price, as in extra wear and tear on the circuits, bit higher power bill by about 20 watts, extra heat, the whole 9 yards. It's more worth it to actually turn this thing on and off separately from the television than to try and do some kind of combined thing. Although it is handy to have the volume on the television control this unit, but it doesn't work for everything. It only works, I think, for PlayStation 3 and whatnot because of how old the television is. Newer TV might be something else completely. Either way, that's enough playing with the kilowatt for now. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.